Hi friends, this is Anders Ibsen from Windermere Professional Partners, managing broker with Anders Ibsen Homes. Now you've probably heard the news about the Federal Reserve finally, after years in the making, dropping the prime rate. What this will indirectly mean is lower mortgage rates in the near future. Now this is generally a good thing for buyers. However, homes are still in very short supply. The typical amount of listings on the market right now is still at historic lows. And what happens if demand takes up, but supply is still in short supply? It means you're probably going to see a return to more competitive conditions in the market. So think bidding wars, short time on market, more competitive conditions that tend to favor sellers. I don't think this will equal the same kind of crazy conditions we saw during the COVID era, but it's going to be more in that direction realistically. But on top of competitive conditions, what this is also going to bring back, more than likely, is a common pain point, especially for first-time buyers, and that is losing the home to other buyers. You've undoubtedly heard horror stories of people making upwards of 5, 10, or more offers before they finally won a house. And on principle, I believe that you shouldn't become a homeowner on accident. Because the fact is, winning a competitive home buying situation is not luck, and you don't have to be a cash buyer to win either. What it really comes down to is just two things. Working with a real estate professional who understands what it takes to win the house that you want, and being emotionally prepared for doing what it takes. Generally speaking, if you have those two things, you tend to win the house. Before we dive further into this though, here's an important caveat that you should be aware of, and that is you and your broker should know what you are capable of winning to begin with. There's a quote from, of all places, Sun Tzu, The Art of War, that is really pertinent here, and that is, "He who is destined to win knows when to fight and when not to fight." In other words, let's say that you're a first-time home buyer and you're pre-approved up to $450,000, let's say, and your dream home just came on the market and it's priced at $445,000, and all the signs are there that it's going to be a competitive listing. There are a lot of business cards in the house, for example. It's only been on the market a couple of days. It's clear a lot of people want that house. If the price point is really close to your maximum that you can't go any higher than, and realistically it's going to go a lot higher, do you have any business offering on the house to begin with? So understanding what it takes to win, but also when you just simply cannot win, it's not just about being strategic, it's also about saving yourself needless heartache and distraction. A caveat to the caveat though, what if that same house had been on for 30 days? Maybe it was even listed higher than your maximum. In that case, perhaps you might be able to offer if you're the only person whose offer is on the table. And maybe in that situation, you might have latitude to be more aggressive. Maybe you can undercut the price, ask for closing costs, have a lot of repairs during the inspection. So making sure that you're working with someone who understands all the factors that are going to make this listing a competitive situation, or maybe a not so competitive situation, and what it's going to take to win, that's going to be essential, especially on the front end. And that brings us to the next layer of analysis, which is door number one or door number two. What door number one really means is this is going to be a competitive listing, and the question becomes, what does it take to win this house? So if you've determined that it's going to be a competitive listing, more than likely you're going to be competing on a couple of different fronts, mostly price and inspection. So with price, it's obvious, you're competing with people who are probably going to bid the price up, but your goal is to do so in a way that wins you the house, but without overpaying. So there are contract forms that you can use working with your broker to ensure that you're not just bidding the price up $10,000 or $20,000 or however much you have to do just out of nowhere. There are forms you can use that only bid the price up to a level that you are comfortable and only a certain dollar amount more than the next competing offer. There are ways to win the house without overpaying necessarily. And the second, which is a little bit more tough to swallow, is how to deal with buyers who are competing with you for this house who are going to waive their inspection. It's really unfortunate, and in my opinion, it's very foolhardy, but unfortunately a lot of desperate home buyers who've gotten beaten up through the process, they just get desperate and they waive the inspection. And I'm never going to ask you to do that. There are ways that you can beat those people though, and probably the most effective means is what's called a pre-inspection, which means that you get a great home inspector to look in the house prior to even writing the offer. You get the seller's written permission to do that, of course, and you do the full meal deal inspection. You look at the electrical system, the roof, the plumbing, the side sewer. You look through everything just as if you are already under contract, and then you write the offer on the house. This has the benefit of making you just as competitive as someone who's waived their inspection, but unlike those clowns, you've actually done your due diligence and you know what you're getting into. I would argue you're actually more competitive than someone who's waived inspection, because to that seller, they're going to know that you're serious and you're not going to get cold feet. You've seen literally everything to do with that house and you're still offering. So those are a couple of examples, but you get the point. It's all about being aware about what the most important factors are to that seller that it's going to take to win the house, being studious, and just putting it on paper. Now, those are just a couple of examples of the most common areas of competition, but it really is case by case. And it takes a local expert who understands the market, who's done enough business and has enough relationships in the area to know what it takes to really win to do so. I remember a very specific instance where, besides competing with a pre-inspection and using an escalation clause to bid the price up but do so responsibly, where we actually won the house by promising in the purchase contract to have the buyer donate to the charity of choice of the seller. So sometimes it just takes having an actual conversation with the listing agent and understanding what are those special small touches that can get you over the edge. But that's just the first half of winning a competitive listing. The second half comes down to you as the home buyer, and that is, are you emotionally prepared to do what it takes to win? If your broker has laid out all the strategies that it's going to take to win that house, and you know what it takes to win that house, but you're not fully prepared to maybe bid the price up that high, or to maybe risk the $800 on a home inspection for a house that you might not win, potentially. If you're not prepared to do those things, should you even be offering? If you don't love the house that much, maybe just pass on that house and look at other houses that you might like more, and maybe the house might be available in a week and it might be less competitive. But I think it's far more respectful of your time and, frankly, your psychological health that we have an approach that gives you quality information on the front end so that you can make decent decisions without all the heartache of losing the house 10 times in a row. You should not become a homeowner on accident. You should become one on purpose. And working with someone with a strategic process that informs you on the front end with all the key factors is what's going to get you across the finish line with minimal heartache and saving the most money too, to boot. Now, this is just a very small taste of the strategy involved. It's very complicated, but my job and my team's job is to make sure that we simplify this as much as possible for you so that your most important financial decision is user-friendly and predictable. So whatever stage of the process you're at, whether you're just dipping your toes in and studying the market, or if you've maybe found your dream home and you're ready to offer now, I'm always happy to take your calls, texts, or emails. Please keep the questions coming. I love hearing from you, and thank you so much for watching. Have a great day.